This is the Troutbitten podcast.
Troutbitten.
Troutbitten?
Troutbitten.
Troutbitten.
Troutbitten?
Yeah, Troutbitten.
Troutbitten.
It's about trout.
Wild trout. This is Troutbitten. This is the Troutbitten podcast, and thank you for tuning in. I'm Dominic Swentowski, the owner of Troutbitten and the author of Troutbitten.com. So, you know how you see something from far away and it looks really great? It's almost perfect, right? But if you look a little closer, even from a long distance, you might start to find a few things that aren't quite right. But it's good. It's still pretty good. And then when you get even closer, you notice more problems. And when you've been around for a long time, you can't help but see many, many things that could be a lot better. Well, that's the fly fishing industry. And I don't just mean the companies and the big names either. I mean the whole thing, the full scale, from Instagram hashtags and big internet groups to the few anglers that hang out at your local bar. The industry trends, these habits, these practices, some of them just seem wrong. And the gear, the ads, videos, and articles, a lot of it kind of steers people in the wrong direction. So we thought we'd have a little fun with this and call out as many issues as we can fit into one podcast. Yes, we're here to criticize and complain a bit, maybe a lot. It's all in good fun, really. And quite honestly, though, I think most of the things we'll bring up could certainly benefit from a fair dose of constructive criticism. So I'm here with the Troutbitten crew, and all of us are expert complainers. Really, we're adept at picking out the imperfections. We notice the absurd things about fly fishing and often share them with each other. And now we have a podcast episode for it. Now it's time for the airing of grievances. Think of it as a cleansing. It's a chance to bring everything out in the open, from the dark corners and into the sunlight. Here then is Josh Darling, Austin Dando, Trevor Smith, Matt Grobe, and Bill Dell. Guys, are you feeling it? Are you ready?
I got a problem.
Hey to the now. Oh, hell
I got a lot of problems with you people. Now you're going to hear about it.
Feeling good.
Man, I've been waiting all episode. This is the only reason I signed on to do this
For season 3.
For this episode.
Right. That's right.
Who brought the pole tonight?
Oh, the Festivus pole.
Oh, yeah.
Somebody bring an aluminum pole.
Right. So I think
that's what it is.
All of us are we all Seinfeld fans? All of us?
Nope.
Heck yes.
No, of
Bill.
course.
Four
Yeah.
at least.
Bill,
The
come
cool
on.
kids. The cool kids are
Yeah.
Seinfeld fans.
The old guys.
When I was tying flies last night, I actually rewatched the episode that this is from.
Oh, that's good.
I know.
Nice.
I had to go find it. It's season 10, episode 9. It's called The Strike. Or no, it's season 9, episode 10.
Come on, Pap.
And it's called The Strike. And
So good.
it's good. It's about Festivus, and which is Austin. Tell everybody.
Yeah. So George's parents, specifically his dad, they don't celebrate Christmas or any other sort of winter holiday. Instead, they celebrate Festivus, which is a Festivus for the rest of us. So if you feel discluded or you don't fit into one of these holiday categories, you can come to their house and celebrate Festivus with them and sit around the aluminum Festivus pole and air your grievances with one another.
Right. And then there's the Feats of Strength at the end.
There is Feats of Strength where, George, come wrestle your father.
Bill will wrestle anyone in the garage afterwards.
Yeah.
Yes.
How
Yeah.
are we going to display our feats of strength?
Yeah, that's going to have to make the YouTube channel.
Yeah. Okay. So I can blindside Darling when he's filming you.
Just truck him into the creek.
I'm going to mouth hook Bill Dell with a mop.
That's good stuff.
Feats of Strength. So the airing of grievances, as Frank says, is like basically you have a problem with your family, and the tradition of Festivus begins with the airing of grievances. I got a lot of problems with you people, and now you're going to hear about it.
It's pretty good. Yeah.
That is good.
I was going to, paste that clip in, but the copyright infringement
I was gonna-
probably
Oh, yeah.
catch up with me eventually.
He's so angry.
He is.
He's so angry.
Frank is an angry man,
Oh,
So
yeah.
good.
which is why George is the way he is.
Yeah.
Explains everything.
So, all right, we're going to skip the listener questions for this episode. Well, so we have room for more grievances. Is that okay, guys?
That's great.
Sounds good.
All right, you want to do this? Are you sure you're ready?
Oh, yeah.
Let's do it.
All right, so we're going to keep this rapid fire, and let's just crank them out, right? Now, state your complaint, maybe defend it a bit, and then allow for a brief comment from Bill.
Yeah.
Before moving on.
This might be something we agree on. This might be an agreeable podcast for us.
We'll have an agreeable disagreement.
Yes.
So I thought about this. We should start by keeping it in-house, right? How's that sound?
I think, yeah.
Would anyone like to log a few complaints to the Troutbitten office here? Do you have anything?
HR. This is HR.
Go ahead. I can take it.
It's a culture.
This culture.
It's a culture of. This culture lacks safety. Nobody feels like they can bring any complaints forward.
Right.
Internal, man. That's I don't know. Maybe
Internal grievance.
I'm sick of looking at Dando's arms.
Right.
I do that for you.
I mean, put on a long sleeve shirt. I can't.
He's showing more
concentrate.
skin every week.
He is, right?
Just wait
Yeah.
till the finale.
Are you in the attic?
Just wait till the finale.
No, I'm in a second floor room tonight. The attic is way too hot.
Yeah. Put some sleeves on. My internal grievance is our start time, right? We started 12 minutes late, right? I don't want to start 12 minutes late.
That's a good day.
I know, and that was pretty good. It wasn't 22 minutes late.
My internal complaint is when Dom fixes the length of the podcast each week
I was
for
gonna
our
say the same
length
thing.
contest. He tends to get pretty close.
He might not let himself win, but
Exactly.
he never lets
That's right,
himself
Josh.
lose.
That's right. He's smart enough to not just put himself in first. He's got to leave a little bit of.
He lives in that
question.
second to third zone. Yep.
He does. He feels comfortable there.
Thinks we don't notice.
Tired of Josh's picture background looking so cool every week.
Yeah, amen to that.
Right. He tries to outdo
Yeah.
everybody.
And it looks like he has like a little candle lit in the back.
Mm-hmm.
I do.
And I'm in a closet. All right. man? Like,
That's true.
It's
Matt's
not
in the
cool.
closet. He's just trying to get away from the noise of his family.
right.
My internal grievance is that Bill just feels the need to play the character of disagreeing with everything now. Not something, but everything. He's like, I'll take it. I'll disagree with that.
I'll disagree with that.
No one else going to do it?
I actually do disagree with a decent amount of the stuff or do
I know you
things
do.
differently.
I know it. Yeah.
And then sometimes, yeah, it's just fun to. Someone's got
That's true.
to. Someone's got to give you some crap, Everyone can't pat you on the back.
That's
I
right.
like when Bill gets on a long description of a certain activity. It could be anything, like strapping a rod rack to the top of your car. Or,
Oh yeah, that was bad.
I start
That
to.
was bad.
That was legendary.
I cut that out, didn't I?
Did you cut that out?
I thought I cut that out.
No, that's in there. He
Is
cut
it?
it down, but it was still like 8 minutes long.
Yeah.
I did cut it down. Well, last week, Bill taught us how to tie a squirmy wormy. Thanks.
Yes.
Yeah. I can't
Absolutely.
believe you guys didn't do it that way. I thought that was the official way to do it.
That's how I do it.
I do it that way.
Hey, we ready to go? We ready to move on
Yeah.
here?
Let's go.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Who wants to start? Who has the first grievance?
I'll take one.
Ah,
Ooh, the grumpy
now.
Dell.
All right.
Grumpy.
So here's my grievance.
Yes,
I
please.
feel like this is a reoccurring theme where I see people on YouTube or Instagram showing you a fish and not measuring it and saying, well, it was 20, it was 18, it was, this was, it had to be at least 24.
At least.
But there's no measurement involved. And so it's not hard to get some nail polish for, $1 down at Walmart and put a couple dots on your net, bud.
On your net, on your rod, carry a
Yeah.
measuring tape. I just told you that my oldest son, Joey, is out there fishing right now. And he sent me, a text that he caught a big fish. And I know that he knows how big it was because he measured it, because he has a tape with him.
Yeah.
And you can keep that fish wet and measure it. It's possible. And then you can, with confidence, say, it was 20. And
Yeah.
I think it even makes you feel better if you know you're telling the truth. You know what I'm saying?
Definitely.
Sure.
That's for sure.
Bill, you've never lied about a fish size?
No, not to the extreme. Like I've caught some big fish, but I hesitate to say, hey, that was X big. I try to give it like a 3-inch slot. Like, hey, it was probably between X and Y because I didn't measure it.
Somewhere between 17 and 27.
Yeah, that 10-inch slot range.
It only matters when you have to decide whether to give it a name or not.
Yeah.
That's
That's
true.
right.
That's right.
That's right.
That's when you get the measuring tape out.
It's
This
a
is
big
bigger
deal.
than 20. That it is, yeah.
It is a big
Yeah.
deal.
The first namer I ever caught I was in agony over. You should have. Trevor saw it. I was like,
Oh,
I don't
yeah.
like we didn't have a measuring tape, but we knew how long it was to the net because we marked
Okay.
where it was at the net.
Yeah.
But we didn't have a tape, and we had to wait to tape it
Mm-hmm.
until after we were finished fishing. And so I was all night just wondering, it's got to be close. It's got to be about there.
Huh. Nice.
And then we got back and found out that it had just made the cut. So,
Gosh, talk about grievances. How did I forget about this?
oh
Go
yeah,
ahead.
I mean you can go ahead.
Josh letting my namer go. We can't just skip over that detail.
we should bring that up again.
I guess that's in house.
We should bring that up again.
Did Josh lose one of the biggest fish you've ever had on?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Austin, what have you ever caught a namer before?
That was my only namer.
Pixar, it didn't happen.
That's right.
There's one picture of it.
There is a picture of it that I took, right?
Yeah, but that could have been anybody. You weren't in that picture, Austin.
Next grievance.
I have a grievance from COVID, from everybody. When COVID began,
Yeah.
there's there could be a lot of COVID grievances, but one of
Sure.
my particular COVID grievances was everybody posting pictures and saying that it was their quarantine fish or their quarantine fishing.
Yeah.
And for the record, quarantining is when you have COVID and you have to stay in your freaking room
Tell us, Doc.
for 10 to 14 days.
Come on.
Social isolation is what happened when COVID began and everybody got out on the river and tried to stay away from each other. So quarantine, you have COVID. Social isolation, totally different.
Huh.
Stop saying quarantine.
Two totally different things. Doctor
Two
says.
totally different things.
Glad we got that message out there.
Yeah, it matters to me only.
That'll matter more for the next pandemic. I'm glad everybody knows that for the next.
Yeah.
Because hopefully it doesn't matter so much now for COVID.
That's right.
Next grievance.
I think one of maybe my main grievance complaint, right, is like the purest thing. And the idea that fly fishing is this elite form of fishing. No, it's not. It's fly fishing.
Yeah.
And, we've talked about this a lot. Matt, you said the sentence, it's just fishing. You said that last podcast. We've all said that. It's just fishing. I had somebody get in touch with me and they said, hey, my buddy fly fishes and he spin fishes. And I say he's not a fly fisherman, but he says he's a fly fisherman. Do you think he's a
Oh
fly
my
fisherman?
gosh.
I'm like,
Oh,
I don't
geez.
even understand that question.
Are
know?
you Are
I
you now
kind-
the authority? Are you
Oh,
now
right.
the authority?
Like, why ask me? Who cares, right? Who cares what I think? But seriously, yeah, he's a fly fisherman when he has a fly rod in his hand. He's a spin fisherman when he has a spin fisherman in his hand. And the guy said something about, the elitism or whatever. Do you think I'm being elitist? And I was like, yeah, I do. I think you're being an elitist about it.
Yeah.
You got it in your mind that fly fishing is this higher form of fishing. And you don't want your buddy who sometimes touches a spin rod to say that he's a fly fisherman. I'm like,
you
who
have to
cares?
ask. You're being an elitist.
Yeah.
Exactly. I get kind of frustrated about that. It's just fishing.
Yeah.
And I've said it before. I just fly fish because it's the best way to catch trout the way that they're eaten. That's it.
Yeah.
I get it. Plenty of people do it other ways. And man, if you love fly fishing for that reason, because you love the art of fly casting and because you love catching them on dries, we've all acknowledged whatever you love the most about it. Fantastic. But stop looking down your nose at somebody else because they pick up a spin rod or they fish worms or bait, whatever,
I think there's another form of sort of elitism hidden within, like it's not the dry fly guys. It's like, it's the fly shop guys, right? Where you walk in the fly shop and there's this attitude of kind of superiority or like, well, it's just kind of, and in the, we've had a couple commenters on the board recently that have mentioned such things. When they began to get into fly fishing, they went into their local fly shops and were met with kind of skepticism or kind of like, well, why are you here? What do you know? And kind of the, it's almost elitism on a different side of the sport that is equally distasteful, but
Yeah, it's the ego, man.
it's the ego, right?
No, Austin, honest question. You haven't worked in a fly shop. What's your perspective on that?
Yeah, no, that's definitely real. It's real in anything. So like when we had the fly fishing club, there was a community of people who act the same way. In the fly shop, have been employees and employees of other shops I've gone in that acted the same way. It's, each shop has its own tone.
Yeah.
And it's hard to say a blanket statement of, each shop is like that. Some are worse than others, but it's definitely out there.
It is tough. The fly shop employees, I think, are kind of the first ambassadors to the sport. Somebody who wants to get into fly fishing, let's say they can't get everything they want at Walmart or Dick's Sporting Goods, so they go into a fly shop. And hopefully they find a good fly shop employee, like I'm sure you are, Austin, that's going to be helpful and, well, hopefully not have that elitist tone that we just said isn't great, isn't good at all.
Yeah, that can really set you up for a lot of success or just turn you off altogether.
Turn you off, for sure.
Right.
Well, and if you're in the shop and your whole point of life is to deliver a good customer service experience, and you're sending out negative vibes, well, my grievance is, why are you there? Like, get out of the shop. Like, your whole existence is based on providing good, thoughtful information, to individuals, unless you're like, a fly tying specific shop. Okay. Like, I get it. You're not, because there are some shops out there that are really heavy fly tying, but the shops that sell apparel, do guided trips, and provide all that stuff, like those folks should be welcoming in the tourists, the locals. Like, that's why you're in business.
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
For over a decade, Smith Creek has provided innovative, high-quality angling solutions designed to put your gear in easy reach, free up your hands, and keep our waters clean. Smith Creek's award-winning rod clip attaches to your vest and grips a variety of rod sizes, freeing up your hands to tie a fly, change a hook, or release your catch. All Smith Creek products are built guide tough, using high-quality materials like anodized, marine-grade aluminum, and UV-resistant nylon. For a limited time, Troutbitten customers can save 10% off select Smith Creek products like rod clips, rod racks, and net holsters. Just visit the Smith Creek official store on Amazon.com and apply the discount code 10SmithCreek at checkout. That's the number 10, followed by Smith Creek.
I'm going to roll right into the guided trips idea you just mentioned, Grobe. I see this, and I don't know what the deal is, but let's say you go on a guided trip, and the client catches a good fish, and the guide posts the picture of the fish of the guide holding the fish. What? We've got some guides on the podcast tonight. What's the deal with that?
I never hold the client's fish.
Because they can't, sometimes they ask you to hold it. And I find it in the boat. In a boat scenario, it's a little different than wade fishing. So when you're doing all kinds of things and you net a fish in a boat and they're like, no, go ahead. Sometimes it's better for the fish if you hold them.
I understand that.
And I get that, but I also see like seasoned anglers standing in the water next to their guide and the guide's holding their fish and they're just standing there smiling. Like,
I know.
What, can they not hold their own fish?
Maybe they're elitists and they don't want to get fish slime.
It's just so goofy.
It reminds me of when, my boys were really young and we were just, catching bluegill and they're like, oh, I don't want to touch it. So I kind of hold it for them and put it in front of them and my wife would take a picture. It kind of reminds me of that. It's not quite that silly, but it's, you know.
It's some silliness like there.
That, yeah.
Bill, you have something
is.
I think some of it is kind of centered around, look what I did. Meaning like I'm the guide and I did this. Like,
right. It was more my accomplishment than theirs.
I know.
Yeah. And I'm not saying that's a lot of people, but I do. Some pictures seem to have that tone.
Right. I do have a number of guide grievances.
Let's go.
And I'm sorry if I'm going to say a couple of them, right? Austin, I thought where you were going there, it was like when, I guess we're hitting on Instagram a lot here, but I'll see guides that just want to put every day they guided, they're going to show, the client's face and the fish that they caught like over and over. I don't know. I hope they're asking those clients. I would put it that way because I would not use my clients as marketing. If they're asking them and the clients are okay with it, then it's different. But I kind of get the sense sometimes that these clients are not being asked. And I can tell you for a fact, I've had people that were in that situation. They were like, oh, yeah, hey, don't use my picture, because that happened to me before. That their picture was used in the marketing for a guide. I wouldn't do that to people.
I take photos, or I ask the person if they want photos. I try to take a couple, and then I send them to them, and I just let them.
Sure.
I let the client do what they want with them.
Sure.
Yeah, I think that's the best way to do it.
Next grievance.
All right, I've got a grievance because it's summertime now. We even had a podcast on this at one point, but the warm water police, because they're about to come out, I think.
Right, the warm water police. That's your grievance. Yeah,
the warm water police.
Yes.
And how much I don't know. There's just a lot of moralizing that's about to happen about people fishing in the summertime, and how no responsible angler should fish in the summertime. And I think it bothers me because, and we talked about this, but it's because there is not an emphasis on teaching the actual standards by which you should fish and the education and science behind it. And rather it's just, well, it's hot outside and you should just stop fishing from July through September, because it's hot. And we talked about all the nuance to that, right? Like how, the water temps at your particular local waterways, the time of day you're fishing, whether you're fishing tributaries or, there's just so much, what species, the ever-changing degree number that people are cutting off fishing at, whether it's 65 or 68 or 70,
I wait yearly, Trevor, for the stream chart thing.
Yes.
And all of a sudden it's on 25% of your feed.
Right, it is. Everybody's reposting it.
Yeah,
I think everybody just wants to get everyone else off the water so they can go fish. So
it's pretty smart, actually. Right? I think I might have started that, actually.
There you go. I think it actually is that. Fishing gets harder in the summer. It gets more uncomfortable in the summer. You have to get earlier.
Yeah.
You have to get up earlier in the summer, and so people stop fishing. And when they're not fishing, they don't want to see other people fishing or hear about it. So they say, "You shouldn't be fishing either."
Right, exactly. Yeah,
so. I got a lot of problems with you people.
So I'm gonna piggyback on that a little bit. So just like people want to get on everybody for the water temperature thing, right? Yeah. I'm gonna move into the brown trout spawn, and for me personally, there's nothing more annoying than it's the same type of people that post the water temperature thing. As soon as fall hits, they want to start getting on everybody for fishing during the brown trout spawn. And look, I'm not even going to justify Central PA, East Coast a little bit, because the primary trout is brown trout, right? Yeah. And I'm not saying I agree with it. I'm just saying maybe I could be a little bit more open-minded to the battering of that. But I'm targeting the West right now. So this grievance goes out to the entire West Coast of the United States, who has cutthroat trout spawning and rainbow trout spawning starting in March and going all the way through May, early June. You never hear about it. Right. The same people that want to yell at you for fishing in the fall are fishing daily, and guided and non-guided. Yeah. Everybody's out on the river, trampling around. The water clarity's not there, but everybody gets away with a free pass. Why is that? I don't get it, and it's really, really annoying.
There's this grievance.
Yeah.
Around here with the brown trout spawn happening in the late fall, early winter, that really coincides with with deer season, right? Rifle season. And I find a lot of outdoorsmen who are fishing now I'm going to focus on hunting. And I really believe this, that one of the main things, they're focused on hunting. They see that you're fishing. They're like, he shouldn't be fishing. Let me find a reason. Spawning. That's why he shouldn't be fishing. Yeah. I got full articles about why I think it's okay to fish during the spawn, not to target spawning trout, but it's okay to fish around here anyway during the spawn. I would briefly say it's because they are so spread out, and you can it's predictable and you know where they are. If you're disciplined, you can avoid them, and you learn something about what you should be avoiding. Once the eggs are dropped, you know where the reds are now and the type of water you should be avoiding and what those reds look like all the way through January, February, and finally March, when those eggs finally hatch. If not, if you go fishing during January, February, and March, you're walking on those eggs. Sorry, but if you don't know where those reds are, you're doing more damage than if you would have just fished during the spawn. That's my very brief argument. We should have a full podcast.
That's the best, though. That's the best. I replay that, Dom, all the time to people, and I'm just like, so what? You stay off the river, and to your point, you just blast through all the water and think it's okay. 2 months later, right? It's not. I don't know. I feel like everyone should take a deep breath on that and really educate yourself before you start commenting on people fishing during the spawn. And I said, targeting fish, Dom, you said it. Targeting fish that are spawning. Yeah. there's no place for it, right?
Agreed.
I think we can all agree with that.
We do here. Yeah, we agree with that.
But having said that, like, there's people that do, and I always tell people, like, if you actually watch these fish, like, fish aren't eating. Like, when they're paired up, you'd have to just snag them. Like, they're not eating. They're spawning. Like,
I agree.
You could drift over a prince nymph and a streamer, and most times when they're actually paired up,
right,
they're not eating. There's a small window where you have aggressive males protecting the beds that I think, people can, expose that weakness in the fish, or that fish is prone. But overall, more education, watching them in their element, probably good for the fish. So you can tell your buddy, hey, up around that bend, you might want to avoid that gravel bar.
Nice. No, I'm with all that. I got a lot of problems with you people.
Spot burning. Can I just keep going? Can I take this whole episode by myself? And how about the next 5 minutes? So listen, spot burning. I'm going in.
Guns blazing on Instagram. Spot burning. You're going in guns blazing.
Yeah.
But specifically Instagram. So I'm sick and tired of seeing the guy that writes up a big paragraph complaining about his spot getting blown up, and the fact that there's boots on the bank now. When you scroll down through his feed, and all that is background shots of that river and everything, right? So, like, it's like, come on, man. Like, do you think I'm really going to feel sorry for you because I sat there and probed through your feed and found out where you were fishing? Like, if you're that worried about it, don't post the background, but please don't continue to post the background and then complain about it later that your spot got burned.
We've acknowledged, like, I mean, the burning of secrets has been around for a long time, way before social media, right? There were always consequences to that, But now, if you're putting it out there publicly, you have to realize how many people, especially if a big fish is in the picture, are going to look at that spot, dissect it, probably figure out where you are.
Bill Dell knows where you are.
Right? Bill will figure out where you are. He'll figure it out. We're not even kidding. Bill will figure it out. And plenty of other people will too. So you can't complain about it. If you have caused it, stop complaining about it, basically.
Definitely.
I guess that's a self-grievance I had, like, after probably 4 or 5 years of posting, and I went back through my feed and was like, I don't like the pictures that I have.
Very honest.
And so I went back through and, scrubbed it out, and I rarely post a fish with a background now because.
And
I admire that.
I'll piggyback on that because like early stages of social media, Bill, you hit it on the head. Like, I was a prime candidate for spot burning, right? So this is like this is my inner self talking at the age of 40 to my 25-year-old self. I'm grieving. I'm putting a grievance on myself at the age of 25 because I did the same thing. What we're trying to do here is to teach people the mistakes we made.
Sure.
And then prevent it. And look, some people don't care, and that's fine. But we're trying to tell you,
you
will care. Exactly. Because we've been there, done that, and got burnt.
We talked to that pretty good in the secrets and spot burning episode. And the point is to preserve those secrets either for your future self or for the other people. You do it for other people. Yeah. You might not care, but somebody else does care about that piece of water.
Right.
But it's really silly to highlight those waters, even unintentionally. But people can figure out where you are and then to complain about it because you're the one who brought the attention to it.
Right.
See? Grievances, man.
All right, I got one.
Wait, one more thing on that before we move on to Austin.
Go ahead.
It's just from respect the spot burn when it comes to the hashtag. So when you're traveling, because I see a lot of people travel out here.
Yeah.
And they think it's okay to spot burn. Yeah. I'm going to make this up. The Yellowstone River, right? And sure, we all know about the Yellowstone River, but it doesn't make it right to just blow it up just because you're on vacation. Because if you wouldn't want that on your home water, you shouldn't want it on the waters that you're visiting in the country.
Honestly, that's
I'm
perfect.
done.
Yeah.
I think you're done. I think we've done a pretty good job on this podcast of maybe providing an example of how you can talk about these rivers. And I'll just say, my local stream that I was fishing today, or on one of the bigger streams that we have around here, you can talk. It might feel a little strange at first, a little awkward, but you can do that in a public setting Yeah. You can talk around those river names. You do not have to name the river.
No, it doesn't add anything. It really
I'll
doesn't.
say one more thing about it. Doesn't add anything, right? I'll say one more thing about that. Let's not do it in YouTube titles either.
Yeah.
Yes, please.
It doesn't-
Yes.
Fishing River X, big brown trout.
Big brown. Yeah, you got to
Biggest
throw
brown
in
ever.
big
Caps.
trout. Yeah.
All
All
caps.
caps.
I just think it's weak.
That gets
I
old.
think it's easy. It's the low hanging fruit. I think it's cheap.
That's high on my list. You're at that point. You're pimping out the river
That's a good way to put it.
Ooh,
because
pimping.
pimping it out. Because if you're putting, like, think of it, what value do you add to that river by putting it on YouTube and giving someone an exact place of where to go and catch fish?
Right. How's that helping anything? Right.
Right. All you're doing is giving someone the recipe to go repeat what you did instead of, if you want to help the river, find the organization. But yeah, you're not adding value.
I'm going to throw another log on the media fire here.
Ooh, yeah.
I'm getting a little tired of fly fishing ads from any company, whether it be a startup or well-known one. Their ads are
getting
becoming
deep.
like cheesier and cheesier and cheesier. Like, not everybody lives inside their Tacoma with their dog and a rod vault. And that's the only thing they're portraying anymore. Like, that's not the whole market.
Austin, you've often talked about lifestyle anglers.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. And I find that the ads are really catering to that lifestyle angler.
Mm-hmm.
We brought up COVID earlier, and everybody says, Matt, you said how so many more anglers, came in to the
800,000.
right? And so a lot of those, let's say, it's fair to say they're lifestyle anglers. What do we mean by that term, though? Austin, what do you mean by that?
Yeah, it's more of an image than it is like an actual part of your life. So you may go fishing once a month, maybe less, and you're going to have some of the nicest gear on the market, and you're going to take some pretty good photos, and you'll probably post any fish you catch, and then you'll talk about it like you're an expert, but you don't have very much cred to back it up. That's a lifestyle poser or a lifestyle angler.
Yep. Kind of not doing it for the fishing as much as for the looking, hey, look at me.
Yeah, it's about themselves.
You might write a long story on Instagram about how you caught the fish.
Yeah.
But wait a minute. Next time I'm on the river rigging up in my Tacoma with my rod vault, should I dunk myself in the river?
There's a contingent of real ones out there, and then there's just the rest.
I got a rod vault and I feel triggered here.
You feel targeted.
Rod vault was on my grievances. No, it wasn't. I was just kidding you.
Matt, your legacy, like you go,
I'm legacy. So
I like that,
yeah.
Austin.
So
He's legacy Troutbitten.
you can't hate the OG.
No, you can't.
He's
hate
untouchable.
He's untouchable. He has immunity.
Next grievance.
I got a quick one. Weather complainers.
Ooh, yeah.
Don't like it.
Unreal.
Stop making excuses and just go fishing.
Don't like it.
That's my whole grievance right there.
It doesn't ever make sense either because they're always complaining about the best kind of weather to fish in.
That's true,
You
too.
know.
Yep.
It's like,
it's
it's
raining
cloudy and
outside.
rainy
Yeah, right.
and a little cool.
Yeah, better
Great.
stay
That's
home.
great.
Stay home.
It's fantastic.
It's the Goldilocks thing. Yeah.
The Western version of that, which I've been seeing a lot now, is, oh man, it's runoff. I hope it's not runoff when I come out and visit. And it's like, dude,
Sure.
it's runoff every year. What are you talking about? Like, how do you wish away
Right.
something that happens every year for your trip selfishly? Like,
Sure.
make it happen. There's a lot of lakes out here. You can fish.
Right. Don't act like it's
Yeah.
unexpected.
Right.
It's
right.
It's to be expected. Just like the hot weather right now is to be expected. But you
Right.
can still
And
fish
it
around
rains.
it.
It rains back home in May. Like
There you
and
go.
You're gonna have some mud. Like it's
Well,
just gonna happen.
Dad and I used to do a camping trip. We try to do 2 camping trips a year, and one of them was in the springtime on one of our big rivers that floods really easily. And we'd do it in May when he was still working before he was retired. No, actually late April. And I was like, Dad, because we kept getting blown out. And of course, he was complaining about it. So was I. I mean, hey, whatever. You spend the time and the effort to get there, and all the time, like over half the time, we'd be blown out. And then we're traveling around the local tribs and stuff. And he's, man, complaining. I said, Dad, this is the way it is. April, even early May, even mid-May, like we should move this trip to June. And then for the last few years, that's what we did. We started just fishing it in June. Oh, that made all the difference,
Tom, I had the same experience. I put together kind of a Penn State Fly Club reunion trip this year. And got 15 different anglers from the club together. And we went for a 3-day camping trip, and it rained 3 days straight.
Yeah.
But it was the first week of May. It's to be expected.
Yeah, you have a 50-50 shot there, right?
And Dom, when that 50%, because I used to do it the same time you did, or earlier than you did with my family for 2 weeks, 1 out of 5 years, if you hit it, boy, were you rewarded with
right.
extraordinary fishing, right? But I mean, it was hard to hit, but it was worth waiting out the deluge that often, as soon as you'd set up the tent, we would joke, right? And luckily, I don't know, and I know what one you're talking about. Sometimes it takes a while for that to come up, so you could get a good 24 hours in before it went completely blown out.
Oh, right. It'll take a minute for it to blow out, but once it's blown out, you have days
done.
before it's coming down. Yeah, it's game over.
Tactical Fly Fisher was started in 2015 by Fly Fishing Team USA angler Devin Olson, with a mission to bring American anglers the techniques and gear that dominate the international competitive fly fishing scene. While you may have no desire to compete, you can still benefit from the same strategies which competitive anglers use to make them more successful on the water. Whether you want to buy a Euro nymphing rod, a stillwater fly line, or just some hooks and beads to fill your fly box, we've got you covered. And our teaching materials will help you learn how to use whatever products fill up your cart. Head on over to thetacticalflyfisher.com and use the code TFF10 to get 10% off flies, fly tying supplies, or terminal tackle.
Precision Fly and Tackle is a family-owned business with a passion for the outdoors and a sense of adventure. They are anglers who enjoy every moment spent on the water with family and friends. Precision Fly and Tackle carries the widest selection of Euro rods, reels, lines, leaders, flies, and accessories. From the beginner to the advanced angler, Precision Fly and Tackle can outfit every angler, no matter the budget. Visit them online at precisionflyandtackle.com. Then use code Troutbitten10, that's the number 10, for 10% off your order. Gear up with Precision Fly and Tackle for your next adventure. What else? Grievances.
I got another one. I'm jumping in, guys. You got
see, you gotta go quicker than Matt.
Yeah, you gotta go quick. I said 2 at the beginning. I'm into the third, and now I'll just comment. But my grievance is with the fly shop guy or the just singular angler that blows up the beginning of the hatch, because we all know hatches start and finish at different times most years, and there's this nice little time frame, the first 2 days of the hatch, where the parking lots aren't full. And you get to experience the front end of it without it getting crowded. And then there's that guy,
Paul Revere,
that posts on Instagram that says it's on.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, everybody and their mom comes up from the city to fish the stream. And you were just like, dude, could you, come on. I mean, everybody knows it's going to come off between the 12th and the 16th. It came off the 10th. Just shut up for 2 days.
Yeah, enjoy it. Right? Just be quiet. Enjoy it. Why tell everybody else about it? Because it's going to be in your back pocket in a minute, right?
It's on.
It's on.
You'll catch more fish if there's less people around.
That's good. Just words of wisdom. I love it. Just words of wisdom. It's so true.
That's going to be Bill Dell's paragraph under every one of his Instagram posts.
That's going to be my new email signature.
It'll be on your tombstone.
Your new bio.
Dom, I've got a grievance on your behalf. I started reading the articles on your site before I ever knew you. But and even at that time, I would get annoyed at almost always the very first comment that would come through, which would be somebody asking a question that either clearly didn't read the actual article.
I knew that's what you'd say.
Or the answer to their question is in I don't know, the article before or something.
Or one of the linked articles.
Yeah. I could have answered. I was like, I just read this and I could answer this. Can I type in? And honestly, sometimes it would be all I could do not to write a second question, just to kind of be like, hey, dude, he did answer that question in the actual article.
I follow your stuff too, and I find it's a little bit entertaining to me, because usually every article or whatever you're sharing on Instagram, there's usually one or two comments almost every time that is clearly talked about in the podcast or talked about in the article. And yeah, it's just, I have to laugh instead of get mad.
Yeah.
Well, it used to frustrate me more. Now I just take it as just the way things go. People don't scroll through Instagram, for example, in a way where they're ready to read a whole bunch of stuff. So they'll see my summary that tells you, hey, I wrote an article, this is what it's about. And then they don't want to go read the article, but then they want to comment on it. And I'm kind of with you, Trevor. I'm like, don't comment on it really unless you do take the time to read the article. Certainly don't disagree with the summary unless you've maybe read the article. The same thing goes along with the YouTube comments are the worst. I mean, YouTube's like a troll factory. And now that Josh, you and I are doing the videos every 2 weeks, I did that first day that it's up. I'm like, there's a mean comment. Oh, there's a mean comment. There's always a couple on average, like one or two.
You should. I think you should screen print them and the season finale of the podcast. Like you can
just read them.
It'd be like Jimmy Kimmel, like mean tweets.
Yeah, that'd be so funny.
That's not a bad idea. That's one of my grievances, man. Just seriously, one of my grievances is just mean people. Like, just stop being mean. People that want to comment just to get a rise out of you. We know they're just trolling, but a lot of people too are just looking to be entertained. Well, to entertain themselves by being mean to other people.
That's terrible.
And the more content that I put out there, let's say with podcasts and articles and videos, the more you're just asking for it. Like, I understand that. But I will tell everybody listening, if you aren't nice, I just delete it. That's it. Yeah. You can, please, seriously, feel free to disagree. I love other ideas and disagreement. We all do. But don't be mean. That's why at the very end of every article and at the top of the comments section, I have something there that just says like, hey, be part of the Troutbitten community of ideas. Be nice. Be kind to each other. That's it.
Yeah.
And if you're not being kind, if you're not being nice about the thing that maybe you disagree with, okay, I'll tell everybody, I just delete it.
Yeah.
I've found that's the best way to do it because you're never, it's almost like when people front end you, you're never going to go like, hey, please don't front end me because XYZ. No, they look back at you and they swear at you and get mean with you. No, nobody's ever, I've tried it. You can't talk people down from, they're trying to be mean to you right away online. It just doesn't work. So the easiest way to do it is just delete it. And we're in control of all of our own channels. And so I can delete anything on Instagram, anything on YouTube, anything on my own website. And I would tell you that's what I do. If it's mean.
Yeah, and you don't lose sleep over it, right?
No, not at all.
It's just gone.
Because it's my policy.
Yeah. I mean, it turns the troll into a meaningless.
It's powerless. They have no power anymore. Yeah.
Right. Which is awesome.
It is kind of nice. You have control over that. You can ban people, block people. Yeah.
Yes. Yep.
At the end of the day, it's just a 15-inch trout. Like, I mean, it's just a trout.
Move on.
Like, come on. There's another one up around the bend.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. So true.
Go catch trout. Have fun. Don't be mean.
Next grievance.
I've got a grievance about a comment. I either hear this comment, read this comment, watch this comment on YouTube, whatever it is, about hard work paying off or fishing being worth it. You know, we worked hard. This fish really made the payoff. That bugs me. Like, fishing isn't work. And the payoff is getting to go fishing, right?
Right,
Mm-hmm.
right. Totally.
So silly to
it's
me.
not the trophy, right? It's trophy. That's trophy fishing, right?
Yeah.
The grind. You don't like the grind. You don't like the terms used.
The grind lifestyle.
The grind lifestyle.
I mean, you can work hard in the sense of
I
putting
like to
time
fish
in,
hard and get
but
after
you
it.
can, but you can enjoy it. It's not like I got to go to work again.
Right. It's
Right.
not like, oh, thank goodness I caught this fish. Otherwise, this would have been a massive waste of time.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I walked 5 miles and, through a gauntlet of deadly animals and muck to catch this fish. It's like, really?
Yeah.
Like,
Okay.
I got it. It's being a martyr.
So hardcore.
Being martyr, yeah. Nobody dragged you out there, man. You chose to do that.
That's right.
right. That's good. Trevor.
I'm not going to feel bad for you.
Like I said, I like to fish hard. I like to get after it. But I don't think it's a...
you got a problem, Dom, right? We all got a problem when we fish hard. Like, we're obsessed, but we enjoy it. It's not like,
Right.
oh man, I fished 12 hours today, man.
Feel sorry for
Like,
me.
It's not
No.
labor.
Yeah.
And it's not like I'm saving the world either.
Oh yeah.
You know, when I fish
Yeah.
hard and I really grind it, right? and I come up with a couple fish right before dusk and whatever.
Right to take out.
Although when it's 4 a.m. and I'm driving home,
Mhm.
and I know my kid is going to be awake when I get home,
Oh yeah.
and I haven't caught anything, that's a little different.
Now you're a martyr.
When I come home, same thing, darling, and my back hurts, and I'm like, oh, my back hurts. Like, my wife blows me up.
Oh yeah.
She's like, shut up, dude.
Yeah.
You were fishing for 12 hours.
That's right.
Caitlin will look at me. Yeah.
Yeah.
The next day, if I act tired, Caitlin will look at me real serious and point at me and say, "Don't make me hate night fishing."
Oh my gosh.
Perfect. Perfect.
That's good.
We've got a verbal agreement in our house that I'm allowed to do it pretty much, at least once a
Yeah,
week,
carte
as
blanche.
long as I don't complain at all the next day.
That's great.
Are we
Yeah.
going to have the airing of grievances for the Troutbitten wives?
That's not
Oh,
bad.
that'd be good.
Not a bad idea.
That'd be good.
Oh boy.
Hooks in her feet. Number one.
That'd be a grievance.
Yeah. Kids' feet.
Oh yeah, I guess yeah. That makes
My
sense.
my 2-year-old had a rainbow warrior yesterday, and I was
No.
like, I'm dead. My 2-year-old just got why do you have a size 20 rainbow warrior in your hand?
Mm. My
Yeah.
kids
Yep.
never got a hook in them, but my dog had a dungeon and articulated. Both hooks were in his mouth too. And he comes up to me like, "Hey,
Oh.
this isn't right." And he just kind of looked at me funny, and I get to looking at him like, "What?" I thought a part of a sock or something was hanging out of his mouth. I'm like, oh boy, this is gonna be a mess. I actually had to get my hemostats, and
Yeah.
well, I got it out.
You should have called the doctor over.
I might, yeah, you could numb them.
No.
What else? Keep going. We got to go rapid fire here. Let's give a couple quick ones.
I feel like
What
we
about
should
big
move into
nets?
the. Oh, okay. Actually, that's what I was going to say. I was going to say I think we should move into the world of specialization, and that is like the -2 weight rods and the 72-inch hoop nets.
-2.
Like
-2 on 9x tippet, right?
that's right. Yeah.
You need a 5-gallon bucket to get something in a net
Right.
when it's 8x.
The idea is the more specialized you get in something, the less you can do with it. You
Mm.
kind of bottleneck yourself into one thing that you can do on the river.
Counter argument is the better they are at it.
But there's like if you're actually doing that fishing,
Great.
like that's what you're passionate about, that's cool.
Yeah.
Because whatever.
Oh, for sure.
That's
Yeah.
what you want to do. It's the guy that fishes once a month that I don't get.
Well, and I think
I mean,
that's somewhat
I
of an industry problem because I think they get
Yes.
funneled. There's like this Euro nymphing, like this is the ultimate ideal of this is the enlightenment of the nymph fisher. This is how you can be a nymph man and still be elite,
The Enlightenment.
right?
Yeah. The
And so,
Euro.
and here's all the gear. Here's our Euro page where you can just like outfit
Yes.
yourself in everything Euro, and now you're a Euro nympher.
Everything Euro in one place.
Yeah, exactly.
The Euro starter kit.
I'm sorry.
That's good. My thing with that, yeah, as we've talked about, I mean, I write so much about the mono rig, and we all talk about it so much. We all fish it, but we do so much more than just Euro nymphing with it. We've addressed that plenty. I'm not going to try to do that here. And there have been Tightline systems around for a very, very long time. So the Euro anything kind of gets under my skin a little bit. I've learned to accept it because so many people refer to really Tightline nymphing is what they mean as Euro nymphing. But again, one more time, Euro nymphing is really just Tightline nymphing with only flies attached to the line, nothing else. It's basically
Right.
Tightline nymphing under competition rules. And one of my grievances is that, well, like Josh said, the industry it pushes people into this idea of specialization. Well, if you're going to Euro nymph, you're going to need this Euro rod, and you're going to need this Euro fishing fly line. You're going to need this Euro
Euro
tippet.
net.
The
Gonna
Euro,
do Euro net.
right? The net, the whole thing. The Euro nymphing starter package, like Bill said. And you don't need any of that to be very successful catching fish on a tight line with nymphs. And really, you might do better without a couple of those tools that are very specialized. Anyway, we've been through all of that. So I guess the reason it is one of my bigger grievances is because I kind of feel like I'm fighting against it all the time. Not that I disagree with Euro nymphing, or the tactic. I like it. We're doing it a lot today.
Not that there's anything wrong with that.
Not that there's anything wrong with that. As soon as we added split shot, it wasn't Euro nymphing. We added a Dorsey yarn indicator. Well, it wasn't Euro nymphing, was it? We drop shotted for a little bit. Well, none of that was Euro nymphing. But all of that was fantastic. It was actually better than getting strike zone rides with just weighted flies and nothing attached to the leader. So my point is that so many people just misunderstand what actually makes these rigs work. And they think it's the restrictions of, well, hey, I don't attach an Indy. Oh, I don't use any split shot. Oh, I use this leader or this way. They think it's those restrictions, or they think it's the Euro nymphing fly line that makes the whole thing work. No, it is none of that. None of that is what makes it work. I won't even try to get into what actually makes it work here because we've done it on other podcasts. My point is I continue to feel like I kind of fight that or have to, I'm trying to educate literally every day on the water to give people to kind of open their minds to, no, this really works well, but let me show you what else you can do with it.
Yeah, anyone who acts like if you don't fish the way that they do, then you're doing it wrong. That's another one of my grievances, and that falls right in line.
That's the purest elitism thing too, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it comes with the dry fly guys, with the Euro nymphing guys, whatever, the streamer junkie guys. Hey, this is the way I do it. Cool. But let's not look down our nose at the way other people do it.
Stripping for 20s.
Strip set.
Which is fun.
Next grievance.
How about the flies that are pretty much have no taper and just finished with a bead? Those get on my nerves a little bit.
Tell us more. Tell us more. Give me an example.
Now you're getting purist on us.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about the junk flies, and so I guess maybe I'm a little elitist in myself, and I feel like if I tie a nymph, it needs to have a taper where the tail of it is small and the head of it is big. Yeah, and so. Like there's the Perdigons, but then I see, you're tying a size 16 Perdigon with a 4mm bead.
Right.
That just doesn't, but they catch fish. They must catch fish. I haven't tried it.
Well, and there's nothing wrong with that, right? I mean, just don't call it a pheasant tail. Don't call it a stonefly nymph. Just this is my copper bead fly.
Bead fly.
This is my hooked split shot.
Yeah.
I wrote an article called "That's Not an Olive."
Oh, right.
Yeah.
And the point was, I went fishing with the guy for about 2 hours. Then I was like, "This is silly," and he was bragging about his olive pattern. It was, they're taking an olive. He wanted to come up and tell me they're taking an olive. I got a bunch of fish back there on an olive. Over and over, he kept telling me he was fishing this olive pattern, and he finally showed it to me. It was a huge orange bead. Cool, whatever, if that's what they're eating. But then it was like a little bit of olive thread behind it and some CDL for a tail. I was like, that's not an olive.
This was Trevor, right?
Trevor.
This is Trevor's.
Yeah, that's the truth.
Listen, I use the orange bead judiciously.
No, the bead's great. I'm just saying, like, they were eating an orange bead, bud. Like, it could be anything behind that bead. They were eating an orange bead that day. Cool. Like you said, Bill, I mean, if the bead, basically for me, my rule of thumb, I suppose, if the bead takes up more than 50% of the real estate on the fly, that's what they're eating, is the bead. I don't care what the hell you put behind it.
Yeah.
They are eating a bead, and they do. Great.
Yeah.
I don't even know if I have a grievance here. I just think they look kind of odd. But if the fish eat them, cool. But I guess don't come up and tell me that they're eating an olive because they're actually eating an orange bead in that case.
Yeah.
Next grievance.
I've got a grievance about cheap gear that's made. Yeah. So like this first began when I bought my first wading staff, I think, and I bought like a fly fishing wading staff from a fly fishing company.
Oh yeah.
And I broke it, I think, in the first couple months. And then I bought like a trekking pole from like a hiking outdoor mountaineering kind of company. The way we all do and it was like 10 times the quality.
Yeah.
And the price, was very comparable. And it just bothered me because it was like, here, you're trying to take what somebody's already doing well in the industry and do it, more poorly just to call it a fly fishing wading staff.
Yeah.
And why would anybody buy this inferior product? But they just don't know what's out there, I think, if they don't look at other industries. And I think Josh and I also see this a lot when we compare like hunting gear with fly fishing gear. There's a lot of times like we have the luxury of having some good hunting clothing that we then wear for fishing. But then you see the fishing industry lagging behind sometimes the hunting industry, just in the technology that's used and the types of clothing that in the outdoor, in the hunting world are, they're light years ahead, whether that's because there's more people in that industry or there can be more money there. Or, I don't know what it is, but
Trevor, I think some of it has to do though with like, if you think of hunting, like it's exercise, it's work hard, like you're hiking into your tree stand 2 miles and you need that breathable fabric. I don't know if we're there yet with fly fishing. Like I think some of these apparel companies are starting to see that there's a lightweight line out there for a certain angler, because we as a group tend to really get after it. Like we walk far. We need that breathable material. So I think the majority of anglers, this is me stereotyping people, they fish a couple holes and call it a day. So do they really need that gear you're talking about, right? So,
it's a good point.
Well, and it won't come as a surprise that Trevor's saying this, because the primary thing that we're looking at in the hunting clothing that is ahead of the fishing industry is the utilization of wool. Yeah. And if fishing companies would get into that, then Dr. Wool, honestly, if fishing companies would get into that, I think they'd have my business.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Trevor, you're wearing a piece that they started marketing to fishermen, just letting you know.
Yeah, that's right.
Matt, you're saying about the way they make gear, basically to cater to the anglers who often maybe don't fish more than 5, 10, 12, 15 times a year, and that's it. That may very well be the average fly angler, and that's all right. Yeah. But and the companies know that. I do think it's cool. I think we are getting to the point where we're certainly seeing better gear, and maybe it is catching up to the hunting industry. That's great.
Yeah.
But like, I am getting tired of leaky waders. That's another grievance.
Yeah.
Yeah. And this podcast, honestly, we have some endorsements from some of those companies that are doing that well and are kind of out there to change the narrative, right?
They're taking a step forward. Yeah. Trying to.
Hopefully.
Right. Yeah. Hopefully. Right.
Time is to tell.
Tired of patching waders,
Yeah. Oh, patching waders. Jeez.
Boots falling apart. Like, I get that after a while, and even like waders falling apart, but they shouldn't be falling apart at the seams after like 20 trips or something like that. Yeah. I get tired of that.
Yeah.
If I run through a bunch of thorns and whatnot, that's my fault, you could have maybe had a little bit more durable material, but I kind of think that's on me, those little pinholes and rips and tears. But man, when the seams fall apart way too quickly.
Yeah, seams are a big deal.
They're assuming you don't fish hard.
That's exactly it, right? Yeah. But there is room there are enough anglers that fish hard. Now, obviously, I think many of them really do listen to this podcast, and we all out there want better quality gear, and there is a demand for it, maybe like there is in the hunting market. So that's cool. Maybe we're getting there.
Yeah,
sure.
How did it get positive all of a sudden? Like, that sounded. Where's the grievance?
back to grievances.
Come on,
we need to complain more.
Complain. Let me hear it. Let us hear it.
The bulging bicep. Okay. Follow me here.
That's in-house.
No.
That's Austin.
No, it's not.
Chin ups before the fish picture.
Look at that.
No. Listen, it's the fish hold. It's the fish hold on IG with a veiny.
That's where you're going.
Bicep. That's where I'm going with it. It's just like it's like they hung on the hangboard with Austin for 20 minutes and then went in the backyard and picked up a fish to hold it, and you just have this massive bulge with this veiny bicep. And look, some dudes, good for you. You can't do anything about it because you're ripped and you have this massive bicep. But there's some dudes out there that are totally flexing a 12-inch brown trout.
Well, they catch a fish.
Come on, dude.
They catch a fish, they keep it in the net, and then they go stream side and do about 20 push-ups.
Chin-ups, okay. Yeah,
right.
Push-ups, yeah.
Then they come and take a picture with
Find a limb.
Find a limb and some chin-ups.
You could do that, do 20 push-ups,
right,
and then pick up your fish.
That's a good idea, Trevor.
Yeah.
So Matt, you're basically complaining about fish holds, and you're kind of an expert on holding fish, holding big fish. I'm not even busting your balls about that. You're pretty good at it.
I'm the master of the grogging out the fish.
There you go, right?
But I don't
riding the line.
I don't focus on my bicep like bulging in the picture. Like, I want the fish to be showed, but
I got
there's folks out there that are taking their shirts off and showing tats, and I'm just man,
The shirt off. No one wants to see that.
No, nobody wants to see it.
That's right, Austin. Put on some sleeves.
It's not showing up in my feed. I don't know what feed you're watching.
It's a different thing. It's a different thing. Different account.
Bill's got other,
different account.
Other styles.
Guys who fish.
As far as there you go.
Next grievance.
As far as fish holding, I'm really getting tired of the squeezing the fish. Right?
Oh yeah.
Good point.
Stop squeezing them. I see guides in fish pictures. Guides like squeezing right where the heart is. We've talked about this. I wrote articles about this, and we talked about it. I think in season 1. We talked about taking care of the fish, how to handle a fish, and just don't squeeze them. Stop squeezing them. And then I call it the knuckles hold, where you're trying to hide your fingers, and I just think it looks silly. And what you're doing is balling up your fist and having the fish like rest on your knuckles instead of like resting, like cradling it in your hand.
So you can grope it out and you can't see that your finger's, an inch long and the fish is only 15 inches.
Yeah, maybe that's it, to hide the perspective. But no, I just think it looks silly. And I think it's what's wrong with seeing a finger or two? And you can hold them so you hardly see your fingers if you're experienced at it. It just looks inexperienced to me, really. You're not impressing me by putting it on your knuckles, all right? And it looks, too, like you're squeezing it. Even if you're not squeezing it, it's just resting on your knuckles. Well, it also looks a lot like that. I look at it first, I'm like, oh, they're squeezing it. But no, they're not. But there are plenty of people squeezing the fish too. Stop squeezing fish.
What about, and this will go, I was definitely a culprit of this at one point in time, but doing like all necessary steps to make your fish look as big as possible. Whether that's like wide angle lens, multiple pictures until you get the perfect picture to make it look as big as possible. Like, look, I think we all go through stages and obsessions with big fish. I'm the first to admit that. If you look at my feed, I have 1 million fish pictures.
Millions.
Right? But it's like
millions.
I've got so many big fish.
But
humble brag.
You don't humble brag.
But I was wrong about that.
But you don't need to just like really shove it. Like really shove it in the picture. If the goal is just to showcase the fish, showcase the fish, and don't worry about what it's going to look like on Instagram.
There you go.
Or enjoyment.
I think Bill and Austin and Josh, I feel like do the artistic fish picture really well. I feel like that the Troutbitten site, the art that we use on there, the photos that you choose, Dom, are really kind of show a good example of what people should, like, I think what people should shoot for, which is just kind of a natural appreciation for the beauty of the fish, for the environment, and not just like overemphasizing one characteristic, like you're saying, Grobe. Like the biggest deal is not the size of the fish. It's capturing the beauty of that fish. And,
I hope so.
And its environment.
I like to think that, I like to think what you say is true there, Trevor. I know that early on in Troutbitten, there was more of a focus on big trout. Mm-hmm. I've definitely moved away from that on purpose.
You got to gain a following.
Right. Show them the big trout. Show them the big trout.
I think it would be good to do a podcast on how to, like, the taking photos and like what goes into thinking about it.
Yeah. We touched on that a little bit in the, how to hold a trout episode. There's a section on that, but I'm with you there, Bill. We should dig a little deeper into all that.
Yeah.
Next grievance.
So what about private water? What about club water? Is that a grievance?
Ooh.
Oh, yeah.
That's a tough one, isn't it?
It is. I feel like, so I think there's other aspects of this to be grieved about. And so I want you guys to share them. My specific grievance, I just feel like it's sad to see something that encourages the privatization of water that could be a resource for all instead it's turned into sort of like an amusement park for some, and for typically for people that can pay enough to be a part of it, or who have historically kind of like been grandfathered into it, or whatever the qualifications for being part of that particular club or section of water is. It is sad to me because I have been kindly invited by people to fish on club water, and I appreciate those invites, and I've had fun fishing on club water. I'm not going to say that I have, it's like the worst experience I ever had, but I was filled, and I am often filled with just a feeling of sadness about the fact that this this is gorgeous. Like, and this is beautiful water, and there's a reason that this is good water. Yes. But it could be for all, and it could be something that we can all appreciate and enjoy. And instead, it's like right here in our backyard, there are streams that we can't fish, that you can't just walk down to and fish, because there is this history of privatization and club kind of fishing that's kept an incentive to keeping them private.
Yeah. And one private section is going to lead to the next and to the next, because why wouldn't you make thousands of dollars because your neighbor is?
Right.
I will say this, though. In this state, you can legally own that piece of water and post it if it's not navigable. Heck, you can even stock fish in there.
Yep.
I don't think it should be legal to stock especially over a Class A wild trout population. And my gosh, do I push back on that a lot. That's one of my main messages.
That's a grievance.
Yep. It is a grievance. Stop stocking over wild trout. That's my grievance.
That's too big of a grievance to...
It's a big one, right?
To broach here, yeah.
But the trouble is, when people post just their own 200 yards of water, well, you can't fence those fish in. So now you posted really kind of ridiculous big rainbow trout that are literally like 27 inches, and you're feeding them every day with pellets. And like you said, it's kind of a circus environment. Mm-hmm. And now those fish are going to go wherever they want. And I'm going to catch them 2, 3, 4 miles upstream, downstream, 10 miles. I've caught them so far away from wherever those clubs are. That's what's not right, especially when it's over wild trout. And that's my grievance. I think it's terrible. And I think our Fish Commission needs to stop it. I think they need to stop. It shouldn't be legal. It's basically stream pollution, especially over wild trout. If they could keep them in their own land, okay, and build a club, charge fees, okay. Like, I'm actually okay with all of that. I don't like it because one private water leads to the next, but they can't keep those fish from going wherever they want, and then the rest of us have to catch them, and it changes our experience. And especially if they're going to stock browns over top of an already wild brown trout population. Mm-hmm. Now, every good brown trout that I catch, every 20-inch brown trout that I might catch in a year, I have to question it. Well, where'd that come from? Now, is this a kind of artificial setup? It's not fair. It's not fair to the rest of us. That's my grievance.
Yeah.
I'm going to grieve against the piggyback on this. Dom kind of alluded to it, but the state of Pennsylvania and all the other states that allow people to post stream bottoms. And having lived in Pennsylvania most of my life and then coming to Montana and seeing this stream law, it's mind-blowing. Like, that's how it should be. Like, the state of Montana should be an example for every state in the United States. Yeah. Because if you think about it, nobody owns the water.
Don't own the water. That's right.
It's our collective, like, it's nature. Like, it's snowmelt, it's springs. Like, who in their right mind could rationalize posting the riverbed? Like, it's our rivers. They're our rivers. They're not yours.
I agree.
Like, you can own the bank, sure. Like, but you shouldn't own the rivers. And the fact that exists still is absurd.
I agree.
It's absolutely absurd.
Yeah.
And it causes a lot more problems. Yeah.
Yeah, Montana takes that seriously too, right? So like if someone buys land and threatens to privatize it, like you're going to hear from the whole community.
Mm-hmm. Oh, the whole state. You fight for it.
And that whole pushback just isn't the same here. And, you know, the idea that the water's everyone's and shared and happily shared isn't the same here.
Right. It's almost inverse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like just growing up where I did in like the western part of PA, there's entire mountain ranges that are posted that we can't fish because clubs and organizations own those, and they're good wild trout fisheries that there's just no access to.
Yeah.
A lot of them are hunting clubs here too, and they don't care about the fishing, but they post it because they don't want anyone hunting there.
Yeah. But yeah, that's my biggest, I guess, envy of Montana is those stream laws. And I just think about like if PA had anything close to that, just the amount of water that would open up here, and it would spread people out.
Yes.
Good point.
Yeah.
And it's here, unfortunately, it's only going to get worse. I don't think those stream laws are ever going to change. And the amount of posting is just going to continue to get worse. I've rarely seen something get unposted, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
The last thing, well, one more thing I want to point out about the clubs. Another thing I think really stinks is when a guide or a fly shop or whoever takes a client to one of these clubs, and then the client catches this 25-inch rainbow trout, and they say, there you go, wild trout. You caught a wild trout.
Yeah.
Now take them there, tell them what they're catching. Fair enough. Hey, have a good time. We've all fished club water, right? Everybody here has fished club water, private water. But I think it's obviously disingenuous, and I think it's really damaging to the angler. I don't think it's fair to the angler, and I've run into it a lot in guiding. Somebody will be with me on a Tuesday, and they're like, "Oh yeah, Monday. Yeah, yesterday evening we were out of this. Where's all the big trout? Because man, yesterday evening we were catching big wild rainbows." I'm like, "Whoa, no, I know where you were, and those aren't wild. What'd your guide tell you? He said they're wild rainbows." I'm like, "No, sorry, but they lied to you. They actually lied to you, and I think that's terrible."
Yeah.
Yeah, it sets up unrealistic expectations for the angler. If they want to go and put what they learned that day into practice on their own, they're not going to see anywhere near that kind of success because they don't have access on their own to that kind of water. And so then all of a sudden they're going to be discouraged, and they're not going to really have the same interest that they had after that fishing trip with their guide.
Right. That's why it's not fair. They're going to think like, oh man, I guess I can't catch them on my own. Man, I must be doing the wrong things. Where are the big trout? Right. Literally, people say that to me. Like, where are the big ones? I'm like, we just caught a 15-inch. That's really good. No, where's the 25? I caught this big one yesterday. No, not cool.
So talking about spots and stuff, how about the angler or the friend that wants to milk all the information he can from you?
The casual friend. He's not your
I'm
best
right here,
buddy.
Bill.
He's looking right at you, Bill.
But yeah, like I guess just when someone gives you, the fishing report, like, hey, I fished, X and I caught a dozen fish or whatever, like I just get annoyed with occasionally it turns into like, well, where'd you fish? What'd you catch them on? Were they behind this rock? Do you want me to just take you there and walk you there?
Hold your hand.
Do you want me to cast and hold the rod for you?
There's a space for that early on, right? Like we can't expect new people to.
I
mean, they're going to ask. They're curious. They want to learn. They want to have the same success that you've had. It's when people who have been doing this for a while start asking that. And start kind of just bypassing the rules of the game, like learn this stuff on your own.
Yeah.
Love you, man. Give me some info. Love you, man.
Love you, man.
I just send pictures of the clicker. That's it. How was fishing today? 82. That's all they get, a picture of the clicker.
This guy.
It's like, what? What? This guy? Like, what? 46? What? Don't worry about it. That's how fishing was. It's just look at my clicker.
Come on, numbers.
I'll send them latitude and longitude to actual locations, but the most well-known locations around here.
Oh, right. Yeah.
I used to send I told you guys this. I used to take pictures of a delayed harvest back in southwestern PA. Del would know it very well. And that's where I fished every day of the year round for everything. How was it? Oh man, they just stalked. It was amazing.
Yeah, they just stalked it.
I didn't know they stalked wild browns. Someone would ask, did they stalk wild browns in there? No.
Hey now. Come on, guy.
Next grievance.
You got something, Trevor?
Yeah, I got something. So I think as you begin to fly fish and fish hard, you can just assume as you're trying to consume information and read what's out there about different topics that everyone that writes an article kind of knows what they're talking about. And what you realize quickly as you fish more and spend more days on the water is that you kind of have to trust, honestly, your own experience over anything that you will read, and instead use what you read as, possible ways to supplement or kind of A/B test things that you've kind of figured out on your own. But night fishing has been a big example of that for me and Josh in terms of, what we've been able to read about what's out there on night fishing hasn't always jived with what we have found through our own experience. And if we had simply trusted what we read, we probably would have limited our success pretty significantly, at least in the waters that we fish.
Nice.
And so I just think my particular, it's a sort of weird grievance, I suppose, but I just think that it's really easy to just fall into the trap of saying like, oh, well, this guy's really famous and he wrote a chapter on night fishing, or this guy's really well known, and yet, like, don't discount your own experience, and don't ever lean too heavily on what's already out there. Like, lean more heavily on your own experience and do the hard work yourself to kind of learn things, because you may find a completely new way to catch fish.
Mm-hmm. Don't assume that anybody else knows more than you. Really.
Yeah.
You pick up ideas from anybody, from any source. But it doesn't matter what the source is. I wouldn't assume that anybody else knows more than what you do about your rivers, and especially about the way you are trying to fish and trying to get better.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think a lot of it is every river has its own little niches. And so while there's some general things that'll apply, some of those things may not always apply to your river if there's some specific, I don't know, maybe a different hatch, maybe a different circumstance.
Yeah.
Every river is different, and so there isn't a catch-all.
No. Like Trevor said, you're going to eventually get to the point where you learn that, oh, I can trust myself here.
Yeah. And it's weird that we have to say that, but I think it's maybe just a little bit of that, like, the industry kind of points you that way of, like, you need to have these classes, or you need to read this book, or I'm not necessarily blaming the industry for doing that, but I don't know why I would. I remember very distinctly a period of time where I sort of realized, I was like, man, I played baseball, I played football, I was thinking about all these sports that I've learned and picked up, and I'm like, I have not struggled to have success in any of them, and I never doubted that I could, and yet here I am thinking that, like, it's somehow in doubt that I could learn how to fish well, or figure this out, or, like, apply the combination of experience and skill to kind of sort out how to catch more fish.
Nice.
And after that point in time, I feel like I've had a lot more fun sort of using my own ideas and kind of being more innovative on the water for myself.
Sometimes I find myself out there questioning, like, oh, should I be doing this? Oh, I read this article, or I saw this video where this guy was doing this.
Yeah.
Or they were suggesting, oh, this is wrong. You shouldn't do it that way. And I'm thinking, like,
yeah,
am I doing it wrong? Should I do it? And in a way, that's good. In a way, that's good. I like to constantly question what I'm doing and try to get better. But I've learned not to doubt myself too much. And it does come with experience. I recognize that. But like you say, Trevor, it's more fun to have, that trust in yourself. And you go, wait a second, I know what a good drift is. I know what my goals are and what I'm trying to do and what my streams are like.
Yeah.
And maybe what I saw in that article, or what I saw in that video, or what I read in that article doesn't apply to me. Or maybe I actually fish better than that person. That's totally possible.
Yeah.
Stop assuming that everybody else or anybody else really knows more than you do about your waters or fishing in general.
Yeah.
Anything else, guys? Look at that. You're all ready to go to bed.
I could go all night.
Oh, I know. We were trying to hold you back, bud.
I've got 2 points.
Here's my last one. My grievance is anyone who is trying to pretend that catching fish doesn't matter.
I like that.
What do you mean?
I see that a lot. I read that a lot. Some of the articles that I've written, and even the podcast that we put out on, like, numbers of fish. Lots of people want to say, well, numbers don't matter. And in that podcast, we made a pretty significant argument that, it does matter. We said why. And it isn't for bragging rights. It's for learning. And it's for that motivation to get back out there and learn the next thing. Not to keep stats to even compare with yourself and say, I got 10 today, but I got 5 yesterday. Or I'll catch 20 2 weeks from now. No, it's about trying to get better. That's the motivation. And I'll say this too. There's also some, I think, misunderstanding that, it's either you're out there for the experience, and I love the nature and I love everything out there, or, I'm just counting fish. No, we acknowledged that before too. Like, you can do both. It's possible. And we do. Well, every one of us here.
Nah, it's just nice being out.
It's just nice being out there.
We joke about that, right?
We do.
We do.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was just, how many fish you catch? Well, it was just nice being out there.
It's just a nice day. It's just a nice day.
Right.
It's sunny.
And I always say, like, that only goes so far. You're only going to go out maybe a half dozen times if you don't catch fish. You can only say that so much. That's just nice being out there. No, it is. It is just nice being out there. But the only thing that's going to get you back out there is the next fish, or the next puzzle to solve, really. It's those river mysteries that keep us motivated.
Well, dumb. I could have caught more fish if I wanted to.
If you wanted to. You could have caught as many as you wanted.
I just thought of one more I got to throw in.
Oh, right. I figured.
Okay, so big groups, right? So not river cleanups, these big organizations or like these small groups that decide to meet up at a stretch of water, and there's over like 7 of them, or it turns into 15, 17 people meeting up to fish. What? Wait a minute. Why would you want to meet? I wouldn't want to meet all 6 of you.
Right.
Or all 5 of you on one stream to fish for a day.
Right.
Let alone 22 people in drift boats, or you all meet up in the same parking lot to have a good day on the water. No, that's impossible.
No,
to have
that's
a
not
good
what
day
you
on
do.
the water. That's not what you do. That's not what we do here. We don't meet 22 people and shake hands and act like you're going to have a fun time on one stretch of river. That's not cool.
Matt, maybe it isn't about catching fish, but
Be out there.
Come on.
it's just
now.
nice being out there.
We're just trying to sweetheart a little.
Hey, do we have anything else?
No. I feel lighter. Do you guys feel that?
I know. I do too.
I feel completely aired.
Until next year.
Yes, it feels good.
I'm aired out.
That's
If
all out
one
there.
of us doesn't make it back for the next week's episode, we'll know we pissed somebody off.
Oh, yeah. And honestly, sincere message. I'm sorry. We're all sorry if we pissed anybody off.
Yeah. This is all good fun.
It's really not the intention.
Yeah. We're really nice.
It's just to educate.
It is. It's kind of an education.
In season 10 of Troutbitten, we're going to have an open line to where we'll take calls from around the country. And you can tell us what's wrong with us, right? You can call in and bitch about us.
There you go.
That'd be
That
fun.
season will just be Dom and Austin, though.
Just a roast.
Yeah.
I want no part of this.
I will filter the questions to Dom.
All right, there it is. The airing of grievances. Some of this stuff is nitpicky. It's just little things that bug us, but don't really matter much. Yeah, a few of these things are nothing more than pet peeves. But a lot of these grievances are major problems that hold anglers back. Maybe it's bad information that confuses fishermen, or it's poor fish handling tactics that harm the resource. So I think it's fair to call balls and strikes the way they are, and maybe some good change will come down the line. Surely, though, none of us are happy to complain all day long, because negativity can turn sour quickly. But the most egregious of these problems needs to be fixed. And there's no doubt that pointing out the bad things and holding each other accountable is a positive step in a better direction. All right, Austin, will you read us out?
Yeah, let's do it. All right, so remember, the Troutbitten Project is a free resource for all anglers. The Troutbitten website hosts over 800 articles with endless stories, commentaries, tactics, tips, and more. Find what you like through the top menu and through the search page. Navigate by way of the categories and tags, too. Be sure to find the Troutbitten YouTube channel, currently featuring the Troutbitten Tip Series in collaboration with Wilds Media. These are short, useful, and unique tips for your fly fishing life. Thank you for listening to the Troutbitten Podcast. Please give the show a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts and leave a comment, because it really helps. Until next time, friends, fish hard, enjoy the day, and find your life on the water.
I got a lot of problems with you people, and now you're going to hear about it.
Come on, Pap.
That's good stuff.
Too smart for me?
Looks good.
It's pretty good.
Next grievance.
Stop being mean.
This is how you can be a nymph man and still be elite.
I got a rod bolt and I feel triggered here.
Look at that.
It's on.
It's just nice to be out there.
Come on, guy.
Don't like it.
You'll catch more fish if there's less people around.
Go catch trout. Have fun. Don't be mean.